Hi, welcome to Farland Classic Restoration. Today we're going to be talking about this very unique BOCAR. It's a 1958 XP4. This car was actually built in Lakewood, Colorado. And the reason it's called a BOCAR is the developer of this was an aeronautical engineer by the name of Bob Carnes. He used to do some amateur racing. He raced the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, he used to do sports car racing, and he was always frustrated with the cars that were available in the day. So he decided to build his own car and then go up against things like Ferraris and Jaguars and Porsches. His first car was an XP1, which stands for experimental. And then he built the XP4. They actually made only 4 of these cars. This happens to be serial number 002. I found it here in Denver. A fellow had been owning this car and driving it, and then he decided to start restoring it. He went and sanded it all down, took all the paint off, tore it all apart, and then let it sit for 20-some years in a storage container. He never got back to it. And so I bought it in a pretty dilapidated condition. A few years ago, we restored an XP5, which was the model that came after this. So I knew this car was a special car when I saw it. And when I got looking at the frame and I saw that it was unmolested and unwrecked, I got very excited and I thought we can actually turn this into probably one of the best original, unmolested, unwrecked BOCARs that exist. So that's where we are now, and we're in the process of beginning the restoration. As you can see, what we have is a fiberglass body. This fiberglass was something he developed from his years being a helicopter engineer. The entire body weighed less than 100 pounds. When you combine it with a very thin tubular frame, the cars weighed about 1,650 pounds, which was really light for the time. And they would throw a nice 283 Corvette engine in them and made pretty good horsepower. They'd go 0 to 60 in approximately 6 seconds, which was in 1958. That was really fast. I mean, that's fast by today's standards, but it was really fast in 1958. So what we did first is we cut this off the frame. We had to get in, and my fabricator very carefully used some cutters, and he just surgically removed the fiberglass from the metal. Once they put the body on the frame, they just fiberglassed right over the metal in different places to secure it. And then they created a whole interior to the car, which was put into the fiberglass on ahead of time. All the inside pieces of the car were probably put in first, and then they laid the body over the top of it. And by the time they were done, they had a pretty unitized body attached to the frame solidly, and then they put their seats and their engines. And what Bob did eventually is he made a few of these cars and completed them in his factory in Lakewood. And then he started to sell them as a kit. So you could buy a body and the frame put together, and you added your own wheels and you added your own engine and transmission. He would sell those for about $700 in Road and Track and Popular Mechanics and so forth. We don't know exactly how many cars were finally built, but we think there was maybe only about 18 of the cars that were produced in his factory. So this is a rare car, and they've sold for up to $300,000 and some in the past. They're pretty collectible if they've got racing history. This car was raced locally. It was owned by 2 guys, both of them here in Colorado, one in southern Colorado and one in the Denver area. And strangely, I was recently able to get in contact with the man who owned this car when it was 1 year old. And he told me a lot of interesting stories about driving it in Canyon City, Colorado, and other areas down there. And he said he would terrorize neighborhoods, race other cars, bet people money, always won. He said he scared the living daylights out of most anybody that rode in the thing. So as you can see, we're down to the bare chassis here. We've got parts of the floor and the interior laying out. We've got pieces that are broken that we have to recreate in fiberglass. So we're going to completely repair, and make this body brand new again. And we'll probably paint it back to its original medium blue color, probably have some stripes on it of some kind. We've got to still create some good wheels for it. We've got to find just the right wheel. We might have to have something custom made to match what they had back in the day. It had a pretty good set of gauges, some in the dash, and then they had some right in the center section. These cars were very tight. When we look at the chassis, I'll show you where the engine goes, but they were so tight that in order to change the spark plugs, you had to actually go inside the footwell, take a panel out, and change the spark plugs from inside the footwell. Well, you can imagine that's not a very easy place to access a set of spark plugs. So the whole thing's a little bit tight. It's almost a mid-engine car. The engine sits so far back into the chassis that they literally called this thing a mid-engine car. You come around to the front, and it has a very beautiful front end. This is one of the things that made this car so unique. It was a very attractive design. It looked a lot like the Ferraris of the day, like a Ferrari Testarossa or some of the early Maserati race cars. When it was out on the track, you really weren't quite sure what it was. It was a little bit of an amalgamation between many beautiful designs, but it was very smooth and flowing and always attracted attention. Back in 1960, one of the guys that raced these successfully was a guy named Al Huttinger. He had an XP5. He came in a special race in Daytona, which was called a Speed Special. He came in second behind a beautiful Jaguar D-Type, and then he went on to set a speed record on the sand in Daytona. They claimed he went 175 miles an hour. Well, in 1958, going 175 miles an hour was really fast, especially if you think about doing it on a beach. So these guys were kind of half crazy that drove these cars. We're going to have a lot of fun restoring this car.